Hi, how are you guys doing today? I'm sorry it's a little bit late. Just let you know I do have COVID, so a lot of this video recording is going to be some videos and things because I lost my voice last week and I'm still recovering. So thank you for the get well wishes. I am recovering at home, so it's my second time with COVID. So I mean, it happens. So hopefully, I won't have it as long as I had the last time. Today we're going to be going over chapter 3 and also chapter 4. Oops. Chapter 3. It's all about speaking confidently. We're battling the nerves and the unexpected. Some people are joking they rather die than stand up and speak. You know, when it comes to public speaking, a lot of people are afraid to speak. Um, that is normal. It's right up there with, being scared of heights and flying and those type of fears. So, a speech is a minor to the soul, commented Phyllis, a popular writer in 42 BCE. Other people came to know that word through the words. Many different social situations, ranging from job interviews to dating to public speaking, make you feel uncomfortable. There's different groups that you can join. One of them is called Toastmasters. Some people join that. It helps them when they want to like get in front of people and speak, or they interview for a job. They have different exercises to help with that. Also, there's other organizations you can pay for and join groups like Dale Carnegie. He has one on public speaking, also one on business. There's communication apprehension. That's a broad term. It refers to individuals' fear of anxiety associated with either real or anticipated communication with another person. Just one moment. Let me go ahead and share with you a video. All right. So that was a really good video. He explained about anxiety, and he spoke in a way that portrayed it. And a lot of us get anxious when we speak too, or when we live life. And I want to show that too, because he's also a speaker as well. But back to our presentation. According to James McCrossie, communication apprehension is the odd term that refers to individual. It's at heart, communication apprehension is psychological response to evaluation. Our bodies can't distinguish between psychological and physical threats. There's a number of physical sensations associated with communication apprehension. Any conscious emotional state like anxiety or excitement consists of two components: primary reaction, central nervous system, intellectual interpretation of these psychological responses. People who suffer from speaking anxiety are neurotic. That's not true. We've explained speaking anxiety is a normal reaction, and good speaking gets the nerves just as poor speakers do. Winston Churchill, for example, will get physically ill before major speeches in Parliament, and he's rallied the British people in the time of crisis. Many people with whom he about communicating widespread problem. And then telling a joke or two is always a good way to begin a speech. And humor is one of the toughest material to deliver effectively because it requires an executive sense of timing. And it's extremely easy to offend when using humor, and the same material can play very different audiences. For these reasons, humor is just unpredictable. Okay, so let me show you the video, King's Speech. You can see from number one, and we'll continue, but I want to show you this. So there you have it. That was from number one, it mentioned. Number three, imagine the audience is naked. So you could do that, but sometimes that's distracting. And it's just plain doesn't work because imagining the audience naked will do nothing to calm your nerves. So Malcolm noted there are some folks in the audience that would want to see you naked, especially not trying to be frightened in the audience. Some abstract image in your mind consists of real individuals who connect through your material. To imagine the audience is to misdirect your focus from real people in front of you to imagine groups. And any mistake means that you have blown it. We make a mistake, but what matters is a mistake how we recover. One of the authors of the speech wanted to thank the former student in the audience. Instead of saying former student, he said former friend, and the audience stopped laughing. The speaker remarked, well, I guess we'll be a former friend now, which got more laughter from the audience. And this speech doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to make the effort to relate to the audience naturally and be willing to accept your mistakes. Avoid speaking anxiety by writing your speech out for word and memorizing it. Memorizing your speech word for word will likely make your apprehension worse rather than better. Instead of remembering 3 to 5 main points and subpoints, you want to try to commit the memory more than 1,000 bits of data. You want to forget a point only to get it back on track and starting from the beginning. You're inviting your mind to go blank and overloading with details. In addition, the audience will like to listen to canned or memorized material. Your delivery will offer to memorize, and audience appreciates speakers who talk naturally rather than to recite a written speech. Audiences are out to get you, not only a few exceptions, and we're going to talk about it. Anxiety is not the same. Natural state of audience is empathy, not empathy. And most face-to-face audiences are interested in your material, not your image. Watching somebody who's anxious tends to make audience members anxious themselves, particularly public speaking classes. Audience want to see you succeed. And they know that you'll soon be in the shoes and identify you, most likely hoping that you're going to exceed and how their speech is better. And then you establish the direct eye contact for real individuals in your audience. You're going to see them respond to what you're saying. This response lets you know you're succeeding. And this will help your audience as nervous as you feel. Empirical research has shown that audiences do not perceive a level of nervousness as speakers report feeling. Most listeners judge speakers less anxious than speakers rate themselves. In other words, audience is not likely to perceive accurately the level of anxiety you might be experiencing. And some of the most effective speakers will return their seats to the speech and claim that they were so nervous. Listeners will respond, "Did you look nervous?" Audiences do not necessarily perceive our fears. Consequently, don't apologize for your nerves. There's a good chance the audience will not notice if you don't point it out to them. And a little nervousness helps you get a little bit better at your speech. The myth is true. Professional speakers, actors, and performers constantly rely on the heightened arousal of nervousness and the channel of extra energy in their performance. People would rather listen to a speaker who's alert and enthusiastic than who's relaxed to the point of boredom. Many professional speakers say that the day to help stop feeling nervous is the day they stop speaking in public. The goal is to control the nerves and to channel into the presentation. There's some exercises you're going to be doing for homework, but some key takeaways here. The communication apprehension refers to the fear or anxiety people experience by others. Some anxiety is a normal part of the communication process, and psychological threat individuals perceive communication situation prompt psychological changes designed to help the body respond. These physical reactions to stress create an uncomfortable feeling of unease called speech anxiety and include sweaty palms, shaking, butterflies in the stomach, and dry mouth. A great deal of conversational advice for managing stage fright is misleading, including suggesting speech anxiety is neurotic, telling a joke is good opening, and imagining audience naked is useful, and audiences are out to get you, and the nervousness as you really are. Trait anxiety generally feel across situations in different time periods. Context anxiety. Context refers to anxiety prompted by specific communication context. Some of the major context factors and heighten the form of anxiety: formality, uncertainty, novelty. Formality, it perfectly composed when talking to a meeting or in a small group. Yet when faced with formal public speaking setting, they become intimidated and nervous. Uncertainty. In addition, it's hard to predict and control the flow of information such as context. Levels of uncertainty is high. Feeling of context anxiety might be similar to those experienced first day of class in a new instructor. Novelty, high tension communication settings. Novelty, anxiety becomes more issue. Communication environments of who we are and us. Audience anxiety. You might have difficulty talking to audience of peers in student government meetings, but the audience composed of parents and students on the campus might make you feel nervous because of the presence of your parents in the audience. Situational anxiety is a unique combination influence generated by audience time and context. Communication apprehension stems from many sources, including speakers' personality characteristics, communication context, nature of the audience situation. Many factors exaggerate communication apprehension, formality, familiarity, novelty, perceived similarity, and subordinate status. A few of the factors that influence tendency to feel anxious when speaking. Anticipation, a minute prior starting a speech. Confrontation, first minute of speech. Adaptation, last minute of speech. And release, the minute immediately following the end of a speech. Think positively. You have reduced anxiety through preparation. Although no one can see the future, predict everything that will happen during the speech. Every speaker can and should prepare the unknowns in the speech, and they're often kept to the minimum. And being prepared as a speaker means knowing the main points of your message so well that you can remember them. If you're feeling highly anxious, the best way to learn is to outline your speech. And of course, watch what you eat because you don't want to have anything that'll give you gas, or you might belch or cause hiccups, cause you to be cold or hot. Maintain your sense of humor and know your stress triggers. I'm somebody when I used to get stressed, my eyebrows used to move up and down, and that was really nerve-wracking, plus brought attention to myself. And some people get sweaty armpits, so don't lift your hands up if that's you. Some people are itchy or they move their body a lot, so to keep that in mind. You should cope with the unexpected. Do note that sometimes there will be some fun technical difficulties, but when you keep that in mind, it's a good idea to just think about what it's like to be in the audience and put yourself in that position. Okay, so here's a little video. This is a Ted's worst nightmare. Okay, so back to the speech context here. So you always want to plan ahead to cope with unexpected difficulties like forgetting part of your speech context, having technical trouble with the visual aids, or being interrupted by external distractions. In this video, you can see the gentleman, he still kept his composure even though he was interrupted. Now we're going to go into chapter 4, the importance of listening. Listening is really important. It's the difference between listening and hearing. Hearing is like hearing the sounds, kind of knowing what's going on in the background. But then we have not just listening, but we also have hearing, right? Listening is looking for the message. Hearing is like, it could be the background noise. So let me go ahead and show you a video. This is the difference between listening and hearing. But you can't see it, hold on. All right, so that there you have it. That's I think what it is about listening versus listening versus hearing. Oprah Winfrey's talked about this on her TV show, How to Talk So People Really Listen. There's 4 ways to make yourself heard. This title leads us to expect to list the ways to leave the listening to others and insist that they do so, but the article contains surprising ending. The final piece of advice is this: feel important. In other words, the better you listen, the more you'll be listened to. There's listening, hearing. Hearing is the accidental and automatic brain response, sound that requires no effort. We're surrounded by sounds most of the time. Accustomed sounds of airplanes, lawnmowers, furnace blowers, the rattling of pots and pans, and so on. Hearing, accidental, voluntary, involuntary, effortless. Listening, focused, voluntary, and intentional. Benefits listening. Listening should not be taken for granted. Before invention of writing, people conveyed virtually all knowledge through some combination of showing and telling. Elders recited tribal histories, attentive audiences, listeners received religious teaching enthusiastically. Myths and legends and folk tales and stories for entertainment survived only from audiences that were able to listen. Nowadays, however, you can gain information and entertainment through reading, electronic readings, rather than through real-time listening, and you become distracted. You let your attention wander. You can go back and forth, replay recording. Despite that, you can still gain at least 4 compelling benefits by becoming more active and comparing in real-time listening. You're going to become a better student, take better notes, and you'll be accurately remember instructors' claims, information, conclusions. You become a better friend when you have a best attention to people expressing thoughts and experiences poured into them. Those individuals are likely to see you as somebody who cares about well-being. People perceive you as intelligent, receptive. When you listen to people, you relieve yourself as being curious and interested in people and events. In addition, your ability to understand meaning of what you hear will make you more knowledge and thoughtful person. Hearing is a psychological process of attending the sound within one's environment. Listening, however, is focused, concentrated approach to understanding the message a source is ending. Learning how to be an active listener is numerous advantage. First, effective listening can help you become a better student. Second, effective listening can help you become more effective in your interpersonal. People might have different types of listening, considering maybe it's the nature of a listening styles, people listening style, action listening, content listening style, and the time listening style. There's even an interpersonal journal of listening. Watson, Barker, and Weaver identified 4 listening styles: the people, the action, content, and the time. People-oriented listener is interested in speaker, so they're people-orientated. They want to listen and see what the message is about. Action-orientated, primarily interested in finding out what speaker wants. Votes, donations, volunteers, something else. Content-oriented listeners are interested in a message itself, whether it makes sense, what it means, what's accurate. Time, people using time-oriented listening style prefer a message that gets into the point quickly. Time-oriented listeners become impatient to slow delivery and lengthy explanations, and this kind of listener may be perspective for only a brief amount of time and may become rude or even hostile if the speaker expects longer focus on attention. A listening style is a great manner in which the individual attends a Message of another person. People-oriented listeners pay attention to the personal details of a speaker and not the speaker actual message. Action-oriented listeners pay attention to the physical actions the speaker wants a listener to engage in, and content-oriented listeners pay attention to the meaning, credibility of the speaker's message. Time-oriented listeners pay attention to messages are short, concise as a result of limited attention spans and limited time commitment. And at times, everyone has difficulty staying completely focused during a lengthy presentation. We sometimes have difficulty listening to even the relatively brief messages. Some of the factors that interface with the listening might exist beyond our control, but are manageable. Noise is one of the biggest factors to interfere with listening. Could be defined as anything that interferes with your ability to attend to and understand the message. There are many kinds of noise, but we focus on the 4 that are most likely to encounter in public speaking situations: physical noise, psychological noise, philosophical noise, and semantic noise. Physical noise consists of sounds in the environment to interfere with the source's ability to hear. Construction noises right outside the window, planes flying directly overhead, loud music in the next room make it difficult to hear the message being presented by the speaker, even the microphone is being used. Then we have the psychological noise, the distractions the speaker's message caused by a receiver's internal thoughts. For example, if you're preoccupied with personal problems, it's difficult to give your full attention to understand the meaning of a message. The presence of another person whom you feel attracted and perhaps a person who you dislike intensely. That will be psychosocial noise that draws your attention away from your message. Psychological noise consists of distractions to the speaker's message caused by the listener's own body. Maybe you're listening to a speech in class around noon and you haven't eaten anything, your stomach's growling, and your desk is starting to look nasty. Maybe the room is cold and you're thinking more about how to keep it warm, about how the speaker is saying. In either case, your body can distract you from attending the information being presented. Semantic noise occurs when a receiver experiences confusion over a meaning of a source's word choice. While attempting to understand a particular word or phrase, the speaker continues to present the message. While you're struggling with the word interpretation, you're distracted from the listening and the rest of the message. One of the authors is listening to this speaker who was mentioned about sweeper and the clean carpet. The author was confused as she did not see the broom would be effective cleaning swifter carpet. Later, the author found the speaker was using sweeper to refer to the vacuum cleaner. The listening was hurt by her inability to understand what the speaker meant. That's an example of semantic noise euphemism. Euphemism is a diplomatical language used for delivering unpleasant information, flexible with the truth. Physical noise, like barking dogs, loud music, airplanes. Psychological noise, worries about money, crushing deadlines. Tight daily schedule. Psychological noise, feeling ill, having a headache, growling stomach, or rooms too cold or too hot. Semantic noise, special jargon, unique word usage, mispronunciation, and euphemism. You have attention span. Receiver bias, good listening involves keeping an open mind, withholding judgment until speaker completed the message. Listening and receiver apprehension. It's a fear that you might be able to understand the process correctly or be able to adapt the thinking and include new information coherently. Listeners are often unable to accurately attend the messages because of 4 types of noise. We talked about that. The physical noise, physical setting is a listener is in. Psychological noise exists when a listener's own mind prevents him or her from attending the speaker's message. Philosophical noise exists because a person's body is feeling some kind of sensation that prevents him or her from attending the speaker's message. Semantic noise caused by the listener's confusion over the meaning of the words used by the speaker. Here they are, the different stages in the feedback: receiving, understanding, remembering, evaluating, and feedback. We have facts versus assumptions. Facts are verified by clear and unambiguous evidence versus assumptions. Those are supported, not supported by evidence. And assumptions are about the future that cannot be tested in the present. Can rely on reason and common sense. If you're listening to a speech and common sense tells you the message is logical, you might as well be right. In the future, we're going to be talking about different fallacies. That's more of like persuasion, like post hoc and hoc. Okay. So critical listening is a process the listener goes through careful, systematic listening and reasoning to see if the speaker's message makes sense in the light of factual evidence. When listeners not critical and messages are attending to, they're more likely to be persuaded by logical arguments based on opinions, not facts. Critical listening can be improved by employing one or more strategies to help the listener analyze the message, recognize the difference between the facts and opinions, uncover assumptions given by the speaker. To be open to new ideas, use both reason and common sense when analyzing messages, relate new ideas to old ones, and take useful notes. And being an ethical listener means giving respectful attention to the ideas of the speaker, even though they might not agree or accept those ideas. All right. This is 5 Ways to Listen Better by Julian Treasure.
Open the door to a new career with Penn Foster. Our affordable online programs prepare you for
we are losing our listening. We spend roughly 60% of our communication time listening, but we're not very good at it. We retain just 25% of what we hear. Now, not you, not this talk, but that is generally true. Let's define listening as making meaning from sound. It's a mental process, and it's a process of extraction. We use some pretty cool techniques to do this. One of them is pattern recognition. So in a cocktail party like this, if I say, David, Sarah, pay attention, some of you just sat up. We recognize patterns to distinguish noise from signal, and especially our name. Differencing is another technique we use. If I left this pink noise on for more than a couple of minutes, you would literally cease to hear it. We listen to differences, we discount sounds that remain the same. And then there is a whole range of filters. These filters take us from all sound down to what we pay attention to. Most people are entirely unconscious of these filters, but they actually create our reality in a way because they tell us what we're paying attention to right now. I'll give you one example of that. Intention is very important in sound, in listening. When I married my wife, I promised her that I would listen to her every day as if for the first time. Now that's something I fall short of on a daily basis. But it's a great intention to have in a relationship. But that's not all. Sound places us in space and in time. If you close your eyes right now in this room, you're aware of the size of the room from the reverberation and the bouncing of the sound off the surfaces. And you're aware of how many people are around you because of the micro noises you're receiving. And sound places us in time as well, because sound always has time embedded in it. In fact, I would suggest that our listening is the main way that we experience the flow of time from past to future. So, sonority is time and meaning, a great quote. I said at the beginning, we're losing our listening. Why did I say that? Well, there are a lot of reasons for this. First of all, we invented ways of recording. First writing, then audio recording, and now video recording as well. The premium on accurate and careful listening has simply disappeared. Secondly, the world is now so noisy, with this cacophony going on visually and auditorily, it's just hard to listen. It's tiring to listen. Many people take refuge in headphones, but they turn big public spaces like this, shared soundscapes, into millions of tiny little personal sound bubbles. In this scenario, nobody's listening to anybody. We're becoming impatient. We don't want oratory anymore, we want sound bites. And the art of conversation is being replaced, dangerously, I think, by personal broadcasting. I don't know how much listening there is in this conversation, which is sadly very common, especially in the UK. We're becoming desensitized. Our media have to scream at us with these kind of headlines in order to get our attention. And that means it's harder for us to pay attention to the quiet, the subtle, the understated. This is a serious problem that we're losing our listening. This is not trivial, because listening is our access to understanding. Conscious listening always creates understanding, and only without conscious listening can these things happen. A world where we don't listen to each other at all is a very scary place indeed. So I'd like to share with you 5 simple exercises, tools you can take away with you to improve your own conscious listening. Would you like that? Yes. Good. The first one is silence. Just 3 minutes a day of silence is a wonderful exercise to reset your ears and to recalibrate so that you can hear the quiet again. If you can't get absolute silence, go for quiet. That's absolutely fine. Second, I call this the mixer. So even if you're in a noisy environment like this, and we all spend a lot of time in places like this, listen in the coffee bar to how many channels of sound can I hear? How many individual channels in that mix am I listening to? You can do it in a beautiful place as well, like a lake. How many birds am I hearing? Where are they? Where are those ripples? It's a great exercise for improving the quality of your listening. Third, this exercise I call savoring, and this is a beautiful exercise. It's about enjoying mundane sounds. This, for example, is my tumble dryer. It's a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I love it. Or just try this one on for size. So mundane sounds can be really interesting if you pay attention. I call that the hidden choir. It's around us all the time. The next exercise is probably the most important of all of these. If you just take one thing away, this is listening positions. The idea that you can move your listening position to what's appropriate to what you're listening to. This is playing with those filters. You remember I gave you those filters at the beginning? It's starting to play with them as levers, to get conscious about them and to move to different places. These are just some of the listening positions or scales of listening positions that you can use. There are many. Have fun with that. It's very exciting. And finally, an acronym. You can use this in listening, in communication, if you're in any one of those roles, and I think that probably is everybody who's listening to this talk. The acronym is RASA, which is the Sanskrit word for juice or essence. And rasa stands for receive, which means pay attention to the person, appreciate, making little noises like, oh, okay. Summarize, the word so is very important in communication, and ask questions afterwards. Now, sound is my passion, it's my life. I wrote a whole book about it, so I live to listen. That's too much to ask for most people. But I believe that every human being needs to listen consciously in order to live fully. connected in space and in time to the physical world around us, connected in understanding to each other, not to mention spiritually connected, because every spiritual path I know of has listening and contemplation at its heart. That's why we need to teach listening in our schools as a skill. Why is it not taught? It's crazy. And if we can teach listening in our schools, we can take our listening off that slippery slope to that dangerous, scary world that I talked about and move it to a place where everybody is consciously listening all the time, or at least capable of doing that. Now, I don't know how to do that, but this is TED. And I think the TED community is capable of anything. So I invite you to connect with me, connect with each other, take this mission out, and let's get listening taught in schools and transform the world in one generation to a conscious listening world, a world of connection, a world of understanding, and a world of peace. Thank you for listening to me today.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera or use any fancy editing software.
Okay,
With
so
Doodly, you drag, you drop.
okay, so that ends today's discussion, and your homework is updated there. So go ahead and make sure you do both. Read over your homework and answer your question with your summaries. Okay, thank you so much and have a blessed day. Bye.